So while I love the racks that are on the car, I love the To Enjoy, I love the MOS racks, I was thinking, you know, there's a lot of stuff sticking up in the air when I'm not using the racks. So what if it was a streamlined option out there? And lo and behold, Dropracks has sent me their new product, the Dropracks XL, and Yakima has sponsored the feet portion that connect that to the bars. Basically, the whole crossbar is gonna come down and let me load my boat and put it back on. Couple of features, advantages, is that this will allow me to get more than 2 boats up there, and it'll also be very low profile when I'm not using the racks. So let's get started. So I've taken the 4Runner and removed the other racks and removed the crossbars. The drop rack system is gonna be all of that. And as you see, it's pretty low profile, about 3 inches. It's about 60 inches long. Pretty good crossbar, but the crossbar itself is what's gonna actuate on this system. I'm pretty excited about it. This is the only parts bag you get. Not a whole lot to do. Instructions are very well done. The packaging is very simple and efficient. It's assembled, really. There's just a couple bars to assemble, and then you gotta put your feet on, which is what Yakima has sent. And that's basically it. And then you're ready to rock and roll, so not a lot to it. Sometimes when you get some of these things, there's more assembly than other times. This seems to be pretty straightforward. So let's get right into it. Step number 1, assemble the center bar. Center bar assembled, took about 30 seconds. Step number 2, attach the clamps. You wanna disable the lock, pushed out just a little bit, and then there's a little square piece on the back side. Then I'll grab my little adapters from Yakima. They're gonna fit right in this track on both sides. All right, so I've measured the width of my luggage racks on the 4Runner, and they're 43 inches wide. So I just need to put my feet so that they'll be centered up on 43. We'll put both feet on both racks with that same formula. Not much to it. So what I'm using is the Yakima Timberline towers. Super simple design, and the integrated adapter that goes with it. Makes this pretty easy, very secure. I don't have my lock sets yet, but I'll be ordering those shortly, which allow me to lock this securely to the car. There's foot 1. Super simple. All it takes is lining that little screw up and tightening that up. This will fold around my luggage racks later, and then tighten from here. All right, it took about 4 or 5 minutes. All the feet are on the racks and centered. They look really good. So next, I'm going to call P5 down to the shop to help me throw them up on there. I could probably do it myself, but since I got P5 around, I think this will be easier. Perfect. I basically got to put this rack right there on both sides. And screw one screw in this side, one screw in that side. Let me put the camera down. All right, so that's done. So you basically have these 4 screws, 2 in this one and 2 in that one. They're not tight, so you just take those out, and we're gonna reinsert them after we put this crossbar right there. Well, that was super simple. Took maybe 1 minute. All right, so I've got the back tightened down where I want it. Now I gotta tighten the front, but before you go any further, you need to make sure with this handy dandy guide, by placing it right there where everything goes, that's your angle of the drop rack. You gotta make sure that's not gonna impact your car in any way, and this one looks good. So we continue. So now that I know that's where that is, I'm gonna go ahead and secure the Yakima feet on the front. So these Yakima feet are super simple. Simply pull that up into that position, then tighten that screw behind it until it looks like that. All right, so I've got all the foot clamps tightened down exactly where I want it. I'm gonna put the caps right there on the Yakima feet on. All right, now for the last bit, I have to get the crank. All right, I'm gonna double check all the alignment, all the spacing, nothing's hitting the car. But that's what you get. You can kind of see what you got. The whole crossbars right here, waist level for loading, is going to be fabulous. All right, so this is really the last piece, is connecting the crank handlebar across, and you can see this little slot. You've got that. Everything meshing up inside with the square tube, and the screw later is going to come up through here. So that's going to hold this handlebar in place. Make sure you get this little slot right when you put it all together. And there it is, folks. That wasn't too bad at all. I fiddled with it and took my time, and it probably took me 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. And I guess now all we got to do is crank this thing up and see if it works. Boom. Now all that's left is to drive it down the road and see if it whistles. I hear cicadas, but I don't hear the rack. Man, that's quiet. One important note for this design is that this folds up onto that. As you might imagine, you can't strap anything underneath, so you have to have another way of doing that. And some of the J cradles or whatever you're going to use, you'll be able to attach to that. But Dropracks sent me some of their little attachment points, and you just put this wherever you want it, tighten it down, and it's going nowhere. And so what I'm going to do is get the vertical kayak stacker so that I can put 4 kayaks wide across here when I'm whitewater boating. Better for running shuttle. I'll probably also get a couple cradles for my sea kayaks where I can kind of sit them in there a little more securely. But in the meantime, I'm just going to put a kayak on here and strap it to these little guys just like that. That's all I got to do, and that's secure. I'll be able to run my straps through there and around the kayak. So let me get a boat on here. I'll strap it down. We'll see what happens. And so whether I want to do 1 boat or 2 boats, or use the stackers and put them on sideways and do 4 boats, I'll be able to customize where my attachment points are to make sense for the load I'm carrying. Very versatile. And again, when I have the cradle style for the long boats, sit them up in there, that'll kind of hold it in place as well. So pretty cool system. Let me put some straps on that, and then we'll crank it up. Strap down through the toggles, not going anywhere. I guess you have to say that, right? You have to say she's not going anywhere. One difference when you're doing these racks compared to the others, you're going to want to go ahead and close the back hatch, because I believe you're going to have some interference there with the boat. It's a little more low profile, so not as much clearance in the back. All right, let's crank her up and see what happens. And that's about as easy as it gets to strap a boat on the roof of a car. I just put mine mostly in the center. No hard pressure holding it down. Very simple, very easy. So let's go down the road with the boat now and see what it sounds like. All right, riding down the road, going about 55, 60 right now. And boat's up there. You can't hear anything, especially if I close the sunroof, because there's obviously going to be some sound of air going around, boat, crossbars, whatever, but you don't hear any whistling, nothing weird, no buffeting, no annoyance. So just like there's nothing up there. Super excited. Let me go back and show you some of the neat features about it. So the crossbars themselves have double rubber in these tracks that protect this groove from the boats or load, and it also protects the boats from any metal contact. So my whitewater boat, when I put it up there, doesn't need anything. But if you had like a gel coat boat or something you really need to take a little more care of, there's a few options. Any aftermarket T-slot cradle or carrier or anything like that is going to work. And then of course foam. But how do you keep foam on this? Glad you asked. Dropracks sent me their Snap-A-Yak foam blocks, and they have this integrated string And so basically you just put that string over the attachment point, the tie down point, and on this side you just pull it out tight and tighten that down there, and you're ready to go. That's not going anywhere. Got to say that, remember. And it's got a nice contour for putting a boat on there to keep it up off there if you need a boat to be more protected, or if you just don't want to put anything directly on the racks. So it's got a piece of webbing that is part of the contraption that pulls it up, and also this rubber belt. I believe that keeps it engaged so that when you're halfway up or down, if you stop cranking, it doesn't slam down, you know, it kind of holds it in place. So kind of some neat engineering going on there. And I guess the test is going to be time. So you'll be seeing this on the adventures from here on out. I like that it's very low profile when not in use. That was one thing I didn't like about the others, is there was just so much contraption above the car all the time when I wasn't using it. They're real fast, they're real simple, they work great, but I just wanted a little more low profile system. So this definitely accomplishes that. So you're about 33.5 inches on the spacing between attachment points. Might be interesting to note. I'm not one of the guys that lists all the specs out, but if you want to know that, the link in the description to dropracks.com will take you to the website and give you everything you need to know. This is the XL model. I've got a 4Runner, fits perfectly. Plenty of standoff from the car, several inches. So I've been doing several of these lift assist systems to get it from the ground to the top of your car. And I've done some low end ones, some medium grade, and this is kind of more on the high end, a little more expensive than the others, but it offers you some things the others don't offer. A lot of versatility. You can use the rack for more than just kayaks. You can use it for wider loads. You can easily put a canoe up here. You could do a lot of things that the others don't allow you to do. And again, for me, I can get 4 boats across there. Maybe a downside is that you need a full, almost parking space out beside you. So if you're in a crowded parking lot, you're gonna need to find a place to do this. The others come out a little bit, but they don't take up quite so much room. Another downside is it is a little bit, just a little bit longer of a load time. The other one pops right down, you load it, pops right up. This one with the crank and working around, putting several boats up at a time is gonna maybe take just a fraction of a bit longer, but it's all much better than trying to climb around on the top of your car trying to load all this, which is just ridiculous. So if you're in the market for a lift assist rack that they can put boats on top of a car, if you're someone that has a trouble doing that, whether it's some sort of disability, mobility issue, maybe you just have a bad back, there's a million reasons. Like me, you're short, you're lazy, vertically challenged, I like to say, but for any reason that you need or want a lift assist, definitely give Dropracks a look. All right, so I talked about putting 4 boats up here, and it's time to try it out. Full disclaimer, I do not have the stackers up yet. So the boats are there, but I would need the stackers to do this properly. But for the sake of, let's see what happens. I've got 4 boats up there strapped down. They'll make it up and down the road. And let's see what happens. No stackers, so it'll go a lot easier if I have my stackers, but I'm happy with that. So obviously cranking it up was a little slower, there's a little more weight, and with the hand crank, when I got all the boats out the edge, I had to kind of work that crank a little differently. Still works perfectly. 4 boats loaded on top of the car from waist level. Not bad. All right, so if you're working a shuttle and you need 4 boats on top of the car, this will get it. I think that's gonna be about maxing it out. I don't think you could do 6 or, you know, 5 might even be pushing it. So again, let me reiterate that before I went traveling down the road, I would want the stackers as a better way of doing this. Just works better when you start having to stack them on their side. But for the sake of the demonstration, rolling down the road, I didn't go too far. But loading, unloading, perfect. On to the next adventure. I think I want to try a canoe. All right, we're going about 55 miles an hour down the road with the canoe on top. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's cicadas. I can't hear any wind noise, but I can hear cicadas, so that's good. So yeah, canoes, no problem. Actually, it was very easy to load the canoe. Very simple. I sometimes put it in the back of the truck, but there's a lot hanging out, and you know, nothing's really easier than putting the tailgate down on an 8-foot bed on your truck and just throwing a boat in there. But this is very organized. I like it a little better. It's a little easier on the boat than the truck is, because you don't have so much hanging out the back. And to do that right, you need the T-bone, you know, or a bed extender. And then, you know, that takes a little time. But this was super easy. So yeah, with the canoe, I'll be taking the 4Runner out, which before there was no chance I would have tried to load it on the 4Runner. But this is quite simple. I'm really impressed. It's a very versatile rack. So the Dropracks makes loading a canoe on the 4Runner super easy, and I would have no hesitation now of taking the 4Runner versus needing to use a truck or a trailer. The canoe is kind of one of those things that's the ultimate in difficulty in loading on top, because it's just so rangy and big and bulky. Wow. One man loading canoe on top of a car with ease. Let's throw a sea kayak up there and see how that feels. So real quick, before I put the Snappy Axe foam block up here, I want to show you something I did that makes this real easy for me to index where I'm putting the fastener points or the cradle or anything else. I took a Sharpie, silver Sharpie, that's my center point, and then every 6 inches all the way out to the end. So I know exactly how centered everything should be. That way you don't load it crooked, or you're not trying to measure. Just at a quick glance, you have the center mark and you have every 6 inches in silver Sharpie. Makes loading super easy. Now I'm going to put the Snappy Axe on here and then put the Grizzly up on the rack. So basically I'm going to keep the kayak pretty much on the left side of the rack so that my bow line up there to the hood works easily and I don't have to center a bow line in the car. So I'm just going to move this to the last index line I have on the front rack and the back rack. Then I'll just place the Snappy Axe foam block on there. Then on this side, slide that into there, pull it tight, fasten it down. Repeat for the front and we're ready to load a kayak. Of course, not surprising, just like all the other boats, that was super easy. I'm telling you, getting a big heavy boat, a long boat, a bunch of boats, a canoe, Getting that on top of a car is so much easier with this thing. And the versatility of how many types of boats you can put up there is pretty impressive. And of course you can use it for ladders or material or whatever other things you want to put on a rack. Anything you need to put on a rack, you can get up there a little easier with the drop racks. I'm impressed. One rack for all your adventures, dropracks.com. Give them a look. Tell me what you think about the video. Tell me if there's something else you'd like to see reviewed. Leave a comment. I'll talk to you next time. Let's go boating.